Gigantic.
Is December 3rd, 2023. Oh my God, the year's almost over, but it's Gigantic Pop. Here we are. Me, Glenn, with Matt Morgan, Raj Giri, talking about some pop cultures, the world of pro wrestling, and lots more. Guys, we did this so many times last weekend that it feels like I'm on vacation just doing it this week on Sunday.
I will warn you guys, you'll hear my son in the background a little bit dribbling his ball here and there. I apologize if you guys do hear, but just point out to the upgrade of Matt Morgan's podcast equipment with the beautiful microphone from my friend Raj. Our office I'm doing this now in, and not the truck anymore.
Yeah, although I missed the truck because your neighbors would make cameos. It was great. And hey, before we go any further, I got to give a big thank you to everybody out there. So in case you hadn't noticed, we're up over 1,000 subscribers. We've had some views that have gotten close to 10,000 views. Like, the word is getting out there that we're back together and doing this. When we started at first, we were like, oh, nobody really knows we're doing this. It's just a select few. But now, thank you all for helping make this happen.
Yeah, thank you all incredibly much. Continue to share these links when you see us posted it on social media. Tell your friends, go in your chat rooms, your wrestling chat rooms that you're in, whatever. Share the link as much as you can so we can continue to increase our subscribers. Obviously, the more subscribers we have, the more breaking kayfabe stories I will share with you all. How about that?
We're going to have some today, but yeah, please like and subscribe. It does help us out immensely with the YouTube algorithm, and for a young channel like ours, it means a lot. So
yes,
anything you guys can do, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
A milestone, Peter Bahi, for the first time in Gigantic Pop history, we have our first super chat.
Hey,
Peter Bahi for $2.
How appropriate though is it, Peter?
Yeah, saying super chat is alive. Thank you all for making this happen. Seriously, like launching an independent YouTube channel in the year 2023. It's like, well, we're like 15 years late to the party, but yeah, you guys are the reason why we're doing this. And
yeah, and it's all like 20-year-olds too with the YouTube channels. They're like, smash that like button and smash that subscribe button. We don't really do that, but so it is great that we're still gaining traction, even though we're a few old men.
Yeah. Oh my God. So old. I was watching the first Lethal Weapon last night, and like Danny Glover.
Is that a Christmas movie? We're talking about Die Hard later.
No.
Danny Glover is 50 in that. Now, he was actually 40 when he did it, but Murtaugh is supposed to be 50, and I was like, we're getting pretty close, guys.
Yeah. One of my, that a few weeks ago when I had that goatee with the middle missing, a friend of mine, he had just turned 50, and a close friend, and that was the first 50th birthday I've been to. So, and then another friend turned 50, and we went to Mexico. So, all my friends are turning 50, and I'm coming up here, shortly, just a couple years. Sucks.
Yep.
Bigfoot Sneakerhead 499 saying, hope all's well. How you doing? My Raj, Glenn, and my homie Matt. Good to see you, sir.
And that's awesome. Our first two super chats are from longtime friends,
yes.
Of this show, of the previous show that we were on. So really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So this week, CM Punk, the story, the movement, the phenomenon, hotter than he's ever been. Details coming out. Raj, what's the latest we're hearing about all this CM Punk news?
Well, apparently there was a Fightful reported that there was a disciplinary committee, and and Bryan Danielson was one of the main players on this committee. And so he was kind of instrumental in CM Punk getting fired. So that came out this week. I think some people were like, why? The timing seems weird. Like, why are they leaking or confirming this story this week? I'm not Fightful, but AEW in general. Go ahead, Matt.
Can I share why I think? Because Tony went on Twitter, and boy, was that a mistake, because he went on Twitter the same week that CM Punk debuted, and he got absolutely pulverized in the comment section of CM Punk news. My opinion, and it's not my opinion, but this is what others that are wrestlers, I'll just put it to you that way, have shared with me via text message, is that they feel like that Bryan Danielson is just the vibe is, trying to take the heat off Tony a little bit. And you could say what you want about like friggin', this board that they have, this disciplinary board, and it's made up of 2 attorneys and 1 wrestler. The 1 wrestler is Bryan Danielson. I promise I'll get this right. Because he's so respected. So it's like part of me feel he's such a good guy. He's such a great human being that like there's nothing really to make fun of here except he's being a good company guy. And in my opinion, taking the heat off of Tony, because I do think Tony is incredibly reactionary to what fans say to him on Twitter. I mean, it's just one medium on how to get feedback from fans, and it's a good one. Don't get me wrong, but the best medium is people buying tickets to your show. That's the best medium to determine if you're doing well. Don't worry about these stupid people making snarky comments to you. You're the owner of the company, brother. Act like it. Don't, you know what I mean? You can't get all, hurt feelings and thin skin over this kind of stuff, especially going to be the owner of that company. And the shots you guys have fired, let's be real, at WWE, especially Vince. Not that he doesn't have them coming, by the way. He does. But you know what I mean? So you can skin about this. You got to be able to take it. And I will say this: if you do create that kind of disciplinarian board, and you have to have a wrestler inserted into it, who better than Bryan Danielson? Again, I cannot tell you guys how friggin' respected he is. He just is. He's a great human being.
Smart guy, fair. Him and Punk were friends, and so
super tight.
Yeah, so it couldn't have been an easy decision, but he did what he felt was best for the company. So,
and he tweeted, not in regards to Punk, but people are assuming this is in regards to Punk.
I thought it was.
Yes, my dad always told me the right thing is often the hardest thing to do. It won't always make the most money. It won't always be the most popular, but it's still the right thing. Hashtag AEW and a heart emoji.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure,
that is clearly about that.
I thought it was too. I mean, we're not mind readers, right? We can only speculate and try to get it right the best we can. But I did feel that's what that was.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, because, I mean, given the character that Bryan has played throughout his career, I mean, he is that person, right? Even when he was doing the Earth's Champion in WWE, like, not that far from the guy he is off camera as he is on. I think he just turns it up more. But it's interesting because I've seen it go both ways with this, where it's like, well, if you're gonna have somebody, Matt, to your point, that can be the moral and ethical compass, like he's going to be more the letter than spirit, perhaps, of this, and hold things to a very high standard. Where it'll be interesting what this means for Jungle Boy. If Jack Perry ends up coming back, or maybe he was really, he was
suspended.
Yeah, no, I know he was, but I'm saying it'll be interesting to see like the consequence of it. It's also interesting. I don't know. I mean, with Punk, it's the more I think about this, I mean, he definitely added fuel to the fire. But if you look at the Elite's behavior, Jack Perry's behavior, like even Tony Khan's behavior, no one has their hands clean in this entire situation.
Even Hangman Page, when people are like, oh, Punk called out Hangman unprovoked. It's like, no, I mean, Hangman clearly knew what he was doing when he did that promo about workers' rights, and knowing that had to do with Colt Cabana. When Colt Cabana wasn't fired, he was still with the company. So, it's just unfortunate that it wasn't nipped in the bud then. Who knows how different things could have been if it got nipped in the bud way back then. But we'll never know.
That's 100% right. They had to say they left money on the table is an understatement of the year. Yeah. They had money on the table twice. A gift. And I mean, they blew it both times.
I mean, when you look at the dream matches that they could have done when Punk came in, like Punk versus Omega and Punk versus Cody, which we might get in WWE. Speaking of which, we got to talk about that. But there was a lot of money left on the table, and I think Tony sometimes when he doesn't want to do big matches on TV that often. But now that they got monthly pay-per-views, maybe this will change. But by always holding them off on pay-per-views, you've lost out on a lot of big matches. You never got Cody versus Omega. You never, there were just so many big matches that they never got to. And hopefully now with the monthly pay-per-views, they'll get there.
Yeah. But the AEW locker room is now on notice that disciplined daddy Bryan Danielson is out there to enforce.
He's watching you. So he's kind of like, that was the Undertaker for you guys, right, Matt?
Yeah. So let me ask you guys a question. This isn't new. Like, this is something that got put together after the fall brawl, or whatever the hell it was, fallout, brawl out, whatever the hell they call it.
Yeah.
When they had to fight with the Young Bucks. After that was done, that's when they started this disciplinary board, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, to answer your question, Raj, and I was going to say this in a different form, but you're right. Yeah, Undertaker, JBL, our veterans were our locker room leaders, right? And they handle it our own stuff, whether it's wrestlers' court, or whether it's them pulling you to the side, or whether it's them embarrassing in front of the whole locker room. One of the three. But there was this. You were nervous. You know, we always used to hear it back in the day when I was wrestling there. You always heard about talents walking on eggshells and things like that. It wasn't just walking on eggshells because of your spot or where you're at on the show or your character or what are they going to do with you in the future. It wasn't just that kind of eggshell walking. It was the eggshell walking of, you know, pissing the veterans off by accident. You know, doing something, you know, like Miz did, something as innocent as eating in the locker room, and by God forbid, you know, dropping a piece of chicken by accident, you know, like a crumb of chicken on Chris Benoit's bag, and then they gets kicked out of the locker room for it. I've seen crazy things like that. Muhammad Hassan, I watched him get absolutely eviscerated. Anyways, millions of different times. But my point is, I always saw it as two ways. One, a way to be bullies, in my opinion, at times. The other part of it, the other half, I'd say, rather, it's also, I see it as a way, as that guiding force, these bumper rails, so to speak, to stay moving forward in a straight line, versus, you know, what's going to happen if you act like this, or if you say this is what's going to happen. So because of that, you knew there was repercussions if you did something like that. So the fear of those repercussions kept a lot of people on the straight and narrow. I'm not going to lie. So I wonder this, Glenn. Yeah. AEW, when they started up, like, I just assumed that would be Jericho. I just assumed that would be a Christian Cage, even though he's not a very loud guy. He's very to himself. I just assumed it would be like the veterans that came in through WWE, especially Chris, because Chris is definitely a leader in the locker room. Even in WWE, he was. So I just assumed they would have it set that way. But I think with, you know, wrestlers being, you know, the VPs, EVPs, and things like that, I do think that skews it a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and I think, okay, so with AEW, and I want to get back to WWE and this wrestler's court idea in a moment, but with AEW, I looking back and just even thinking about, you know, Matt Kuhn and I podcast together Friday night. We covered SmackDown over on the other channel, and we were talking about the original Double or Nothing. And I know people that were backstage. Raj, we were there in Vegas, and we met people. One guy that we were like gambling with and hanging out with was like, oh, I helped somebody carry something backstage. And next thing you know, I'm part of the backstage crew. Cody came up and shook everybody's hand. It was like, we're going to do things differently here. We're going to be a family. Cody had his idea of what AEW should be like backstage. Jericho had his idea. The Bucks had their idea. Omega had his idea. And then Tony Khan was just sort of in the center of it. I think that's the problem with the backstage culture is it's almost a case of too many cooks, and because it was new, it was a chance for everyone to push this reset button in a different way where there were no set rules. Because you might have had Cody be like, you know, I always thought this was bullshit in WWE, and the Bucks were like, well, this is how it is at indie shows. This is how we want it to be. Jericho's the old man being like, well, back in my day. So what I want to ask you though about WWE and Wrestlers Court, was this very much trial by fire that you just learned? It wasn't like you see in every movie set in a prison, somebody comes in, someone pulls you aside. It's like, okay, first thing, don't take anybody from anything because then you're in debt to them. Like, nobody laid out the rules to you backstage and was like, this is how you stay out of trouble.
Some would. Some veterans would. Some veterans that were cool would definitely do that.
Yeah.
Make sure you shake everybody's hand today. Like things like that. Believe it or not, Brock was my first time on SmackDown, or being pulled up to television for that matter. He pulled me aside and he's like, anything you need at all, just come to me. He goes, don't hesitate. He goes, Danny Davis told me a lot of good things about you, and we're happy to have you up here. And so I could ask him certain questions, but here's the difference. I wasn't Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
Right. So there's certain things that Brock could get away with, like sometimes coming late to the shows when I would ride with him. Sometimes we would be late and I'm the one who's going to get the heat for it, not him. He was a world champion at the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So little things like that. But then you had other veterans like JBL. JBL gets a bad rap sometimes of being a bully and things like that. But I saw him no different than I saw the guy that was playing in front of me on my college basketball team my freshman year. He was slightly better than me, right? But I was getting better and better. Eventually, we ended up getting into a fight in the locker room. All right, we just did because we were constantly being physical with each other out in practice and going at each other's throats. And finally, we had it out in the locker room. Hashed it out. He ended up being one of my best friends still to this day.
Yeah.
Once we had that fight out. So my point with JBL is like, I remember thinking like when I was playing college sports, there's some way worse scenarios where you'd have a beef with somebody, you could handle it, shake hands, and move on. And the team captains would come and make you guys shake hands. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you had that level of policing, for lack of a better word. In WWE, we did have that. JBL would pull me aside sometimes. They'd be like, dude, you're doing stuff like this. This is what's going to happen. You know, be smart. You know, do you really want to be walking in, 12 minutes late, 10 minutes late? You're not Brock. You know, like he'd be smart things like that, he would say.
Yeah.
But he'd also be the one to crack the whip when us newcomers would do something wrong. Right?
Did you ever have to go in front of Taker and have him preside over a grievance?
I was just about to ask that.
Thank God, no. Thank God, no. But I probably had a few like meaningless ones that I can't even think of anything. Not that it was perfect, but I can't think of anything I did that would warrant having to go to wrestler's court.
Did you ever watch a wrestler's court? Was it because it wasn't done in front of everybody, right? Or was it?
Oh yeah, we'd go off to we'd go off to a different a room where just the talent would be there. Nobody would be allowed to be in there. Like every once in a while, like Bruiser, Bruiser, whoever, I forget who it was. Somebody from the office would try to, get their way in there and act like they're part of the boys, and they get out, get out. And it could be comical, but it could also be really mean.
What were the punishments handed down when somebody was?
Always the same. By Taker Jack, by JBL, and Ron Simmons, whatever their favorite drink was. Remember, it was all because whatever you did has come to a head, and everyone's talking about it, and it's rubbed a lot of vets the wrong way. So once they get in there, it becomes more of like a funny thing, while at the same time, letting you know, hey, dude, like, get your ish together here. Come on. And I thought it was more funny than it was mean. The ones I saw.
Yeah. It's weird to think about. I mean, just as an idea, because people talk about it still, and it seems so ridiculous. But when you're in this organization, there's no union, there's no HR.
Oh, there's a whole nother conversation that I could eat up the entire day on when it comes to the union stuff. With us not having that, which is BS.
We should do that one day.
Yeah, so you're left with Taker or JBL, and apparently you could just.
So, hear me out though.
Yeah,
I will guarantee you one thing: that stuff with Punk would not have happened.
Yeah,
it would not have happened. Even up to the beginning when he's in the press conference, Vince McMahon would stomp on his foot under that table or just cut his mic off flat out.
Yeah.
No way would that happen.
Yeah.
So to that point, just quickly, I mean, I know you have a communications degree. You worked in that field, and you definitely, as you've talked about here, did a lot of that work with Impact, and doing advanced work for TNA, doing shows and whatnot. But did WWE, because I've always wondered this, did they put talent through media training, even basic, sit with a PR person and like, this is how you answer a question, this is what you don't say, this is how you deflect?
Today they do. Back in the day, they did not.
It's crazy. It's crazy to think they would just turn people out there doing media that like had no clue how to present themselves.
When you say it that way, yeah, you're right. But that's why there's only a select few that would do it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You didn't really see as much media covering wrestling back then. You didn't, like now you have all the major media, running wrestling articles. But back then you didn't really have it that much.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't talk to the wrestling sites, so like WWE refused. I mean, it wasn't until the late AEW. WWE actually, they started opening it up to us probably like 2008-ish, I would say.
Yeah, but look at the access though. When we were at Wink, it was rare that we would get anybody, and usually they had something else to promote. I mean, go back and watch our Heath Slater interview where he's afraid to say anything about WWE. AEW changed that though. Wrestling Inc., Fightful, all those sites never got WWE interviews until AEW started making talent available.
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
I mean, it was a huge change. Go back, watch any of those press conferences after, like the day after Survivor Series. One, it's funny because you see a lot of people we know. I mean, you see Issa there standing up and asking questions.
I popped huge. I saw Issa. Survivor Series. Like, hey.
The weird guy from Wrestling Inc. UK who scammed his way in somehow. He's not really from Wrestling Inc. UK. That's what he said he was from at a press conference.
I remember that. He said I know he said Wrestling Inc. though.
Yeah, he's a wrestling, and Houseman at the time was there. So Houseman's like, "What the?" Like you can hear Houseman like muttering, like, "What the hell?" Like, it was so weird. Yeah, but it's interesting. So the big mystery left in AEW is this devil business.
Yes.
Who are your predictions?
So, I mean, I do think we should talk about it a little bit as well.
Yeah.
The Britt Baker comments on Twitter. You know what? We're in a day and age. Hey, I wish we had Twitter when I was at WWE or things, you know what I mean? Something similar. Because we didn't. We had freaking, what do we have? Facebook? Not even. MySpace, maybe?
MySpace, yeah. MySpace.
We're talking 2002, you know? Yeah. So, but because she put she put a comment up on Twitter about, you know, MJF's live promo time, and Christian Cage's live promo time.
Yeah, it's like 7 and 10 minutes on that episode last week.
And how hers was 0.00 for the whole year. I was surprised to see.
Crazy.
But with that said, MJF, no offense to any other talent, he's my favorite wrestler. I'm just going to put it out there.
It's great.
He can do the full 2 hours of promos as far as I'm concerned. For the whole show, for the whole 2 hours of AEW, I'd be perfectly cool with just listening to him cut promos in ring because he's that good. But like the rest of the talents that are getting more time, she's a fantastic talker. She knows how to get heat. She's a great heel when it's time for her to be a heel. She's also a good baby face. Yeah. In my opinion, she was like the first female in that company that got themselves over. She was the first female signee. She's a big deal to that company, even though they're very young, that company. She's a very incredibly important part. Punk hit the nail on the head from day one, saying that she's one of the pillars. But with, again, that said, I got to say that, I got to point this out, is that the best way to do it? Is it to voice it on Twitter? I don't know, because I'm not wrestling anymore, right? I just know that if you have a problem, you go right to the horse's mouth. You go right to Vince. Or in this case, you go right to Tony. And you hash it out and say, hey, look, what do I got to do? Did I do something wrong? And he's not going to say yes, because I know what the answer is. The answer is they have too many damn talents on that roster. Yeah. Way too many with not enough time. So she has cut promos. They just haven't been live. They've been backstage pre-tapes. She has had the mic, just not live. So it went completely viral, her comment. So what I'm thinking is, to answer your devil questions, I think it's her. I definitely think it's her. I do think her and Adam Cole are going to do something here to MJF when Adam Cole is no longer injured, or something along those lines.
Be cool.
Yeah, to David Mack's point, they were in Pittsburgh and Britt got no TV time, which was the first time that's happened. I don't think they're going to overlook her like that. I think this is part of the angle. I agree with you. I think it's Britt and Adam Cole in cahoots, and it's awesome. Britt for now. And then the question is going to be, is Adam Cole going to join her when he comes back? And, we will find out then. I think he does.
I think it'd be incredible. What a great, even if you can predict it, I don't care. It's a good kind of prediction if it happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like real quick, a lot of people put down AEW because their storylines have enough good storylines. That's going to be a good storyline. I'll also argue the MJF tag team scenario before obviously he got hurt was good TV. And Christian Cage and Adam Copeland right now is a very good story. So I mean, there are glimpses of good storytelling going on, and I hope they continue it, and I hope they have it with the other talents of that company, the younger ones specifically.
And ratings were up this past week.
Good.
Well, AEW's a lot of it was the NBA wasn't on against them; they were against college basketball. But they're basically in that range, that mid to high 800 thousand viewers.
What's the number they do?
0.26 to it. So they did like I don't have the exact number, but I think it was like 880,000. Let me look it up actually, so I can give an exact number.
When I was with TNA, Raj, we did like 1.1, 1.2 for like a good year and a half.
Mm-hmm. Right.
2007, 2008, maybe 2009. So what would you say AEW is?
Okay, so this
is it 1.0? Is it 1.2?
God, how that translates to a rating?
Because it's just share versus actual viewership of people, but it's been down. But the funny thing is, though, Matt, even if you look in the last 15 years, the evolution of TV ratings, I mean, stuff that would have gotten canceled 15 years ago now is like NBC's biggest hit. If something does 2 or 3 million on a weekly basis, like that's huge. I mean, you go back in the 80s, and I know we talked about a lot of old 80s sitcoms. There's stuff that like didn't even last, 8 episodes. They were like, oh, it did, 15 million viewers, but it was on after Family Ties. So it was expected to do at least 20 and it got canceled. I mean, it's a very fragmented time right now. So for whatever AEW is doing, I mean, it's good enough. Supposedly Warner Brothers is happy, but Raj, do you have the number?
No, I'd have to do the math. It's probably like a 0.7, I guess, 0.8, something, in that range overall. So real quick, the actual number was 858,000 with a 0.29 18 to 49 rating. So again, they're in the range. Raw obviously did their best number during football season in years with CM Punk's return.
So all right, let me ask a question. When did this shift happen where all of a sudden when we checked our ratings every 15-minute quarter hour, all of us wrestlers would want to check it, and we want to know what we did. And yes, we'd want to know where we were in the demo, obviously, but that was not the headline. The headline of our rating was the actual rating. It wasn't the key demo. This was the number. That was not the headline. That was a subheading. Well, so why is that reversed today in today's wrestling?
The demo, it's actually been there for a while, but in wrestling, it really started when AEW started, because that was the number that Tony really would bring up. Like, this is the number that matters.
That's great that he's bringing it up. Why did all the wrestling journalists and everybody that covers pro wrestling, why did they then change that?
Because they're all in Tony Khan's pocket. That's why. No,
do you understand what
but
I'm saying?
Seriously, I mean, Dave Meltzer, before AEW started, he would always talk about viewers and not the demo rating. So
yes, I remember.
Yeah. So I discuss both. I mean, obviously, the demo rating is obviously important, but it doesn't mean squat if you don't actually get improved ad rates. So,
but the demo rating is what dictates the ad rates. I mean, look
to an extent. But wrestling, look, SmackDown's getting, Fox didn't renew SmackDown.
But the demo's also old. I mean,
no, SmackDown wins the night in the demo every week almost.
But isn't the average WWE viewer like 50?
But that's younger than all the other shows on Friday nights.
Yeah. So let me point something out.
Yeah.
Fans at home watching as well. I'll never understand that sort of life of me. If I really like a show, or I really like a story, like a non-wrestling show, a TV show, Seinfeld, whatever have you. Do you really think when I'm talking to my friends about Seinfeld, I'm like, yeah, and by the way, it did a 4.5 last night. Yeah. No, I've never done that. Neither have you. Neither has anybody. No, you have not.
Okay, here's what I do it on. Because there's a difference in TV shows, Matt. See, your favorite
show, you're not listening to me. Your favorite show that you love watching. Okay, when you discuss it with your friends, you're not discussing whether it's a good show or not, predicated on the rating it gets.
No.
About it being a good show because of why it entertains you. Why can't wrestling fans do the same today? I don't understand that.
It goes back to the Monday Night Wars, and that's when fans really started keeping track of ratings.
So if I like a wrestler, let me say if MJF's stuff was bombing, for instance, right? There was like decreasing, let's pretend, whenever he comes on the TV screen. I still would say that's my favorite wrestler. That's my favorite guy to watch. I don't give a crap what the rating is. I'm entertained as hell by him, so I'm going to keep watching him.
Yeah, I think it's more than just the competition between two companies, because after the Monday Night Wars, people really stopped caring about ratings online. It would still be posted in the newsletter and everything, and until TNA came. And then once TNA came, then people started caring again because you wanted to see how it was faring compared to what WWE was doing, and if they're if they're growing and everything. And now again with AEW, but to your point, Matt, the only reason that people care, no one talks about it with their other friends unless they're talking to other wrestling fans.
That's what I mean. So even like when I'm on Twitter, if I'm a wrestling fan and I go on Twitter, like I'll see it, whether like, WWE did a blah, 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 blah this week. If you're entertained by it, I just don't I don't care what the rating is. I don't care at all as a fan of a show, what the rating is. I just care if I'm being entertained by it or not. And I'm not going to like it better somehow magically overnight if it's a show I don't like, but somehow the ratings are going up. Oh, you know what? I'm going to watch it. No,
it's a symptom of the smart mark phenomenon, which is the bubble that we're all in. Because think about the people that you follow on Twitter. Think about the people that we interact with on Twitter. People that don't just watch wrestling. Even here on this podcast, we talk about it so much. And a lot of fans feel like they're an insider because they're like, well, AEW is really up in the demo and MJF's popping these segments and WWE had the most social moment. Here's where the snake is eating its own tail, though, now. When WWE, because they want to brag about everything, they're like, CM Punk is the most social engagement we've like. Who would have even understood that? It's like this is where the industry has got its head up its own ass and is like in love with the smell of its own funk a little too much. Because
well, I gotta say, like, I've always followed ratings business.
Yes, but that's
with streaming services.
Bought your house, Raj.
That's it's your business to do it. I'm talking about as a fan watching television, not Raj Giri from pro wrestling journalist. I'm talking about you watching your normal TV shows. You're not talking about the ratings with your friends.
Yeah. It is, and here's where it's a weird phenomenon, though, Matt. Because I was gonna say, where I've experienced this. It's on shows that don't get a lot of viewers that are always in danger of being canceled. Like, go on the subreddit for like the new Quantum Leap, and everyone's like, "Oh, since the move time slots, it's really up in the rating. This is the rating this week." Like, fans talk about that because we're kind of also ambassadors, right? Like, we meet online in these forums to know how the show's doing, and then it's like, "Oh, I'm going to go on social media and tell everybody how good the show is." It's almost like in music, there's this phenomenon of the street team, which was like you would have fans that would, if you were a band, they would go put up your flyers, they would pass out samplers, they would do all that stuff. But the reason why it's funny that wrestling does this is I've only seen this phenomenon in TV where it shows like the X-Files, which for a long time was in danger of being canceled every season because people weren't watching it the first few years. So it's weird. It's almost like
people online follow ratings, but not in real life.
But I'm saying, though, it's weird that they do it so much because it is a little bit like it's part of that tribalistic nature. It's just a strange phenomenon, especially because the numbers now are just so. I mean, Matt, I looked it up when you were on. I'm sorry, I was just gonna say, Matt, when you were on American Gladiators, by the way, that was doing over 10 million viewers an episode.
What?
Yeah, dude.
By the way, Matt,
NBC.
Have you watched that American Gladiators documentary on Netflix?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes, I did. Sorry. Yes.
I'm in the middle.
They only covered the guys from the 80s.
I know.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll come out with another season.
Well, no, they should though. They're the OGs.
Yeah. But no, dude. I mean, like, in theory, I know we talk about when Hogan signed with TNA, but it's like Gladiators, dude. That's the biggest audience you've ever had.
I have no idea. I swear to God. That's insane.
It's crazy.
I know we don't talk about. Well, I have talked about ratings with friends before, but do you ever talk about box office, especially like back in the day? Like this movie made $1 billion.
When Batman opened, I remember it was like at the time it was the biggest opening ever. I mean, but again, it's not always a great thing. Like right now, all Marvel fans are like, "Oh my God, the Marvels is like the lowest grossing Marvel movie ever."
Right. Yeah.
Like, what are they gonna do? It's become. You know what? Here. I got it. Culture has shifted so far to being nerdy that now talking about ratings and box office, that's the new hyper nerd culture because it is mainstream now to talk about the other stuff that people would have made fun of us for talking about back in the 80s and 90s.
Right. Well, I feel like people may, when they talk about box office, maybe not necessarily saying, "Oh, this movie made 120 million," but like to your point, Glenn, you do hear and everyday conversation, you'll hear people say, "Oh, that movie bombed," or "That movie was gigantic," or right?
Everybody wants to
me?
be like an insider. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's part
like
of it too.
we know, like Avatar was one of the biggest movies of all time. Titanic was gigantic.
But what I was gonna say is, like, it doesn't, to me, it doesn't dictate whether I'm gonna watch something or not. I don't get a Woodrow over the fact that my favorite show has great ratings. It's not gonna make me like it more or less.
Sure, but
I
will try something out if I hear it's like Yellowstone. Like I started that because it was
okay. Fantastic example.
Ratings.
Do you think would you care at all what those ratings were at all, except for the fact, look what Glenn said earlier, unless it's going to affect it being canceled or something like canceled like that. That's the only reason I would care at all.
Yeah.
As far as me watching it or not, I don't care what the rating is. I care if I'm being entertained or not.
But here's a flip side though with TV. Okay, so like my wife and I, as I mentioned over Thanksgiving, watched season 1 of Reacher. Season 2 of Reacher hits Amazon in a week.
Okay. Yeah.
It already got renewed for season 3. I was happy to share that news because it's like, okay, we could feel good about getting invested in this show because it's not going away anytime soon.
That's different.
Yeah.
Okay? That's the exact thing I was just saying. If the shows in Deja are being canceled, of course, then because I want my favorite show to be canceled. I went ratings tanked and show canceled. Peter Bahi, $2 super chat. I loved Heels, but ratings tanked and show canceled. I did like it too. I just thought I liked it because I was a wrestler, maybe. And maybe did I kind of like not look at the acting in it as like I probably would with other movies or shows just because it was wrestling? You know what I mean?
Really? I thought the acting was pretty good. You didn't think so?
I don't know if I could. That's what I'm contemplating. Did I even care? Because they were talking about wrestling, and he's fantastic.
Stephen Amell,
big fan.
Yeah, although he kind of probably didn't do himself any favors with the talk about the SAG strike, the comments he made during that.
What did he say?
I think something about the fact, like he was frustrated that the actors were on strike because it meant he couldn't promote the show, he couldn't do this and that. Like he kind of had some comments that were construed as going against his union, which that never goes great for people. But okay, I will say one thing. Okay, Matt, this is super nerdy. Because the buzz before the Marvels opened said this is tracking to be bad. I told my wife, I'm like, we need to go see this opening night because we want to support it.
I'm not judging. I'm just saying, why? When did it start? Well, I know when it started, but I can see why wrestling fans would use it to back up their point on it's subjective business wrestling, and it's subjective who your favorite wrestler is, right? So by me saying MJF is my favorite wrestler in today's day and age of pro wrestling, and then say, well, look at the numbers I can back it up with. Do you know what I mean? And make my point that way. But as far as what I want to watch and be entertained by, I don't give a rat's what the rating is.
Yeah, I mean, I remember. Okay, so I got
make me like it more.
I got in a fight in junior high over the X-Men, and we were talking about characters, and I had a friend that really liked Wolverine. He was like, well, Wolverine's so popular. Wolverine's in every book. And I'm like, Wolverine is so overplayed. I'm like, who's better than Wolverine? And I just start listing off like Cyclops, Havoc, Iceman. And like, we're getting in like a heated war of words. And I'm using the fact that Wolverine was so overexposed that he wasn't interesting anymore. You know? But my friend was saying, because he was in so many comics, Wolverine's the best character,
Oh, wow. Did he really say that?
Yeah, that was his argument. And that we were like 13 when we did this.
Yeah.
Raj, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, before we move on to Die Hard, there was one other piece of CM Punk news.
What's that?
So it came out in Sports Illustrated last week that WWE does indeed have plans down the road. And this is kind of obvious, but plans for CM Punk versus Roman Reigns. So they're looking to get there, hopefully. And that's one of those cases where that match, do you want to wait too long? Because you don't want to risk Punk getting injured or anything like that. So it's almost like, I almost think you have like Punk beat Seth Rollins at WrestleMania night 1, and then Roman loses to Cody night 2, and then Roman's chasing Punk after that. You do it at SummerSlam.
I like it. Book it, Dano. I do, but is WWE going to be able to get to the finish line with Roman and all his days of being world champion? And they put 3 years into it now, right? They better pull the trigger with the code.
I think it's been a mistake. This last absence has been a mistake. Like,
I mean, it's his contract. It's not.
I know, but it's so cold right now, though.
It is. I mean, SmackDown, it's looking like, going back to ratings, it's looking like Friday's rating is going to be ending up being one of the lowest that they've done on Fox in a while. So I think, and that's with Randy Orton on that show. So Roman definitely, when he's not there, it definitely doesn't feel as important. But he's coming back in like I think a week and a half. A week from Friday.
I mean, with Randy challenging the Bloodline, Matt.
Yeah.
Do you feel? I mean, it's a given that when they have that match at the Rumble, Randy is losing to Roman Reigns. Like, does that excite you on the heels of Randy Orton's return?
No.
Yeah.
No. And he looks awesome. He's in great shape. We've missed you because he's been gone for almost a year and a half.
Yeah.
So by proxy, your fans are supposed to, and we heard it. The fans missed him. But with that said, we've seen him versus everybody. At least I swear, I thought we have. Have we never seen him versus Roman yet?
I'm sure he's
one time
before.
they did only once at SummerSlam years ago.
So,
Before Roman was Roman, though. He was still.
We'll see what it does. We'll see if Randy's keeping the kind of energy he's having right now, because he's completely plugged in. You can't miss it, obviously, because he's usually not like that. And so if he's this Randy, it could be entertaining, but.
Yeah, I think that is the Rumble match, is Roman versus Randy Orton. But you got with Randy now, you got Cody. I mean, the last time they faced off, it was a totally different Cody. So that match is fresh. You got Drew. You got some people in there that you could do stuff with.
That's exciting though. If that's true, that I hope Punk does get to work Roman and a storyline with Paul Heyman. That would be cool.
Yeah. It opens up a ton of matches. And there was speaking of which, Cody's promo on Raw last week, something that caught some headlines on social media was, Cody said to Punk, he goes, "Welcome back." And there was, I think it was Dave Meltzer who said he took that as Cody saying "F you" to Punk, and kind of taken up for the Young Bucks. So
hold up. Let's get this.
I just wanted to see if you guys got that from that promo.
So, first of all, no, we didn't get that from that. So I watched it. You're talking about the post scrum, right? When Cody was asked about CM Punk coming in.
No, the in-ring promo on Raw when Cody
Nakamura came out after.
Yeah, but Cody said to Punk, "Welcome back." And,
So that nor press scrum or anything I've heard come out of Cody Rhodes' mouth had even a semblance of FU to CM Punk. You want to talk about somebody whose business? Cody is the epitome of business at all times. Sure, he might get emotional about certain things that are important to him, but you out of your look. I like Dave. I like him a lot. I like the fact that Dave Meltzer I'm speaking on. The historian that he is, and keeping a lot of wrestlers that a lot of fans maybe wouldn't know today. If they do their research, you could see it. He's done an amazing job on them, especially when these wrestlers have moved on and passed away.
Yeah.
Right? For that, I'll always be grateful to him for it, right? For doing that. But with that said, how on God's green earth did he get FU out of Cody Rhodes promo on Raw? I can't even, I'm being dead serious. There's nothing in it whatsoever. I don't know why he would say that. And what does it do? It's now just going to circulate even more that he's being a mark for AEW, being completely on their side for everything. And it's just going to continue to spin that wheel now more and more and more, because that is not just, look at it, that's not just sharing his opinion. That's something that's like so far off the reservation of what we all watched in that promo. There's nothing, not a scintilla, not anything of FU out of Cody's mouth, or body language, or secret code language that apparently Dave Meltzer speaks, and then the rest of us don't.
He's got to get subs for the Observer,
where there was a hidden FU somewhere in there. No, there was not. There was not a hidden FU in there.
If you go back and watch the blinking of his eyes, there's Morse code.
And the night before, like you brought up, Matt, at the press conference, Cody was all complimentary about Punk. So
because he's definitely make more money.
Yeah,
Cody's about to make more money.
Yeah, and he never got to do that match in AEW. They were both in the company together, and it never happened. So
probably
that's another pay-per-view main event right there.
Yeah. That's
And
good.
so this is what I mean by the tribalist stuff, because believe it or not, Cody still friends with the Bucks, still friends with a lot of those guys at AEW, still talks to them. Why can't people do both? Why can't people support both or not like both? For some reason in today's wrestling world, like that's not allowed, or people think it's rare. It's not. All the big guys and girls in both locker rooms are happy as heck because they're all being paid, getting paid major league money. And they have another company now to go to if it doesn't work out.
Yeah. So we're gonna come back to some wrestling stuff because Matt, I wanna ask you more detail about your Brock Lesnar travel stories that you gave us a taste of last week. So we're gonna come back to that. But it is December, which means it's Die Hard season already. The original Die Hard 2, are being shown on cable. Isn't it weird when we were growing up, It's a Wonderful Life, and now it's John McClane saving Nakatomi Plaza.
Guys, I'm sorry. Everyone's going to hate me for this. I know. Everybody in the podcast or everyone in the chat room or watching right now, don't hate me for this, but I don't think it's a Christmas movie.
What? You don't think it is?
I don't.
They're playing Jingle Bells and
Christmas and holidays.
yeah, exactly.
Run DMC.
Yeah, you got the Run DMC Christmas song. That and Lethal Weapon are Christmas movies, in my opinion. Even though Die Hard did come out in July.
You don't think The Home Alone is another one that everyone thinks is a Christmas movie as well. But hear me out. I like It's a Wonderful Life. To me, that's a Christmas movie. Christmas Story, that's a Christmas movie. And then like all the claymations that I used to love as a little kid. You know, Rudolph, Santa, Frosty the Snowman. To me, those were Christmas movies or shows. You know what I mean? So like when I see like these other movies, I'd watch them year round. Like I don't get the Christmas vibe when John McClane's, falling off a 50-story building.
I mean, wait, Home Alone? You don't think Home Alone is a Christmas movie?
I'm gonna get heat for that too. I know.
Oh,
I know. Okay, I'll give you one that does remind me of Christmas. It's because it's in its title, Christmas Vacation with Chevy Chase.
Yeah, that gets shown a lot. The one I'm sick of is Love Actually being on all the time.
I've never seen that.
Matt, you're not watching the right channels. It's a British film. It follows like 10 different stories about people. Like Hugh Grant's in it as like the prime minister. Martin Freeman's in it. There's like 10 different stories, and it's about like couples getting together around Christmas. It's got a famous scene where guy's in love with his friend's fiance, and she opens the door and he has cue cards and he's like pretend it's Christmas carolers and he's expressing his love for her. I'm telling you, Matt, watch any female leaning channel during the month of December, and Love Actually is on all the time. Like my mom loves this movie. You can't escape it. It came out 20 years ago. But I feel like that, Christmas Vacation, Christmas Story, Die Hard. The one that I like that's not a Christmas movie is About a Boy with speaking of Hugh Grant, which the end of it takes place at Christmas. But that, I think if you guys haven't seen that, I think you would really like it because it's about a guy who's our age, or he was at the time it came out, and he doesn't work, he doesn't do anything, he just like dates women. But then he has a relationship, a friendship with this kid where he becomes like a surrogate father. It's a very nice movie. But I think that men, especially men of our generation, just get a lot out of this movie about like relationships. It's very good, but it ends at Christmas.
I'll check both out.
Yeah.
All right. Our old good friend, Stellar Justin Lopez, thank you for the super chat. He says, any and every movie with Christmas being central to the plot and or the major season in which the film takes place is a Christmas movie. And this includes Die Hard, Batman Returns, I don't know about that one, Gremlins, and Lethal Weapon.
Gremlins, like I remember seeing that as a kid. That Phoebe Cates monologue is still one of the darkest things I've ever seen in a movie. Which talks about why she doesn't celebrate Christmas. I still think about that and just get depressed.
Yes. I you guys don't think I'm crazy. I do. Okay. I feel a little bit of the Gremlin part. Actually.
Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah. But again, I don't know. It has to me, it's got to have like Santa in it.
Did you watch
Die Hard? He dressed the one bad guy up as Santa before, after he was killed. Right? Wasn't he in the Santa outfit? Or is that the...
I know I'm in the minority. I know everybody on this planet thinks Die Hard is a Christmas movie. I know that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun to watch. Did you watch Violent Night last year? The one with David Harbour from Stranger Things?
Yeah.
That was good. Raj, you haven't seen that?
No.
He's actually Santa Claus, but Santa Claus like resolves a hostage situation. Like it's really a good movie.
Sounds ridiculous the way you just put it, but I promise you, it's really good. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's violent, it's bloody, but as far as Christmas movies go, like that was cool. That was trying to out Die Hard in some ways.
I felt like Die Hard 1 is one of those. So I showed it to my daughter, my oldest daughter, and she's not a big action movie fan, and she loved it. She thought it was really good. Yeah, and it's one of those like. It's so weird that Bruce Willis actually was like the 15th choice for that movie. They went to everybody before Bruce Willis, but yeah, it's a classic, and during the holidays, I always put it on. That's my It's a Wonderful Life.
I'll say this. Matt doesn't know this. Raj, you probably don't know this. You know who originally was supposed to star in it? Contractually obligated to be offered the role
De Niro,
in Die
right?
Hard? No, Frank Sinatra.
Oh,
What?
Yeah. He had the rights to the book, right?
The book Die Hard, the original book Die Hard, was called Nothing Lasts Forever, and it was a sequel to a book called The Detective. Frank Sinatra had the rights to The Detective, made a movie of it in the early 70s, and because they were making the sequel, contractually, they had to offer it to Frank Sinatra first. It was his daughter originally, not his wife.
I'm dead serious. I've seen The Detective. I did not know that Die Hard's supposed to be
same character.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, Bruce Willis getting that was amazing considering where Moonlighting. He'd done Blind Date and Moonlighting before that, you know. But the reason Die Hard is so influential, and Die Hard 2, which I think is a very good movie, is Die Hard was the birth of the smart action movie. If you think about what 80s action movies were, it usually was very cookie cutter, like Commando or something where it's like, okay, there's the bad guy and there's the good guy. Die Hard was the birth of giving us a likable, charismatic villain who had an interesting plan. Yeah. And the characters in that movie were much more layered than was in your standard 80s action fare. So look at what happened after that. I think Lethal Weapon 2, definitely has a lot of...
Mel Gibson's character gave us that.
Yeah, Lethal Weapon 2 is, I think, a big improvement on Lethal Weapon 1 story-wise. Yeah. But then look at Cliffhanger, look at Passenger 57, look at the template for Speed even, which originally could have been Die Hard 3. It was written with Die Hard 3 to mind. Die Hard brought in the smart action movie, which is why it's still just such an utter classic. And it's the formula, right? Smart, charismatic villain, interesting plot, but not too complicated. Because like the first Mission Impossible movie, I still can't tell you what that was about exactly.
Any of them.
Yeah, way just like there's a
They're
file.
fun to watch.
Yeah, and I like when they pretend to be the people and take off the mask. Right. But no, Matt, to your point, it's not. There are movies though that are like Coming to America we watch around Christmas. It's not a Christmas movie, but that's a good movie you can put on. The family will enjoy it.
I love that movie.
Yeah, I think and it's nice to have that. I mean, now what's really funny though, I don't know if you guys have realized this, like Gen X, like we're the new baby boomers. And what I mean by that is that when we were growing up, it seemed like everything was for people that grew up in the 50s, and the early 60s. And now flip around cable and it's just nonstop like, I guess I'd say like Once Bitten is on, Back to the Future still always on, Pee-wee's Big Adventure is on, and these are on different channels. But I'm flipping around and it's like they're programming it for us in our generation. Like this is everything that's being shown now because people are at home and they want to watch stuff that they're comfortable with and enjoy, have nostalgia for.
Yeah.
But
yeah, Schwarzenegger was also offered that part.
Yeah,
Stallone. It was a bunch of people before they finally settled on.
Did you guys watch the Stallone Netflix doc yet?
I did.
Was it good?
I like they did an Arnold one, which I thought was fantastic, and I'm a huge Stallone fan. He's like my favorite action hero of all time. But I just felt like it was all surface stuff, like that you could read on a Wikipedia page. So.
Well, speaking of documentaries and feeling old, as of yesterday, the music video for Thriller is 40 years old.
Yes, there's a Showtime documentary on it.
Dude, did you watch that?
Not yet.
I watched that last night. It's about the album Thriller, and they talk to people that made it, and it's not about the story behind it. It's about the story of making each song on the record. But there's a scene where they show how Thriller was put together the song, and it was just like goosebumps, crying. Like you watch it, it's so cool when they break down. Here's the drum pattern, here's the bass line, here's the synth line, and you could hear the demo on YouTube. Originally, Thriller was a song called Starlight, and there's a demo out there with totally different lyrics. It's just amazing to think that song could have been anything else.
Wow.
Yeah. The first thing I ever spent my allowance money on.
Thriller
/ allowance / I got a good report card, so it was an award. It was reward.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the first album I ever bought.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mine was well, the first one I ever had was Blondie. I told you I used to be infatuated with her when I was a little kid.
Can you do the rap from Rapture at the end?
No.
Wait,
No.
it's like the easiest rap on earth.
It is. But it was one I didn't like that song.
Yeah, no, that every time I hear that, the rap
high.
again. Yeah,
Height is high. That was my main one.
yeah, that song's dope.
Yeah, I was a little kid.
No, I hear you. John Cena's bald spot, guys. Thank you, sir. $5.
I remember this. Yeah, what's up, dude?
What's up, guys? Big fan of the three of you back during the Wink Days. Glad to see you back together. Thank you, John Cena's bald
Thank you.
What's up, John Cena's bald spot?
Yeah, great seeing you again.
Speaking of John Cena's bald spot, what do you guys think at this point? Does he get the transplant? Does he get a weave? He can't use the Ronco spray on hair because it'll streak in the ring under the lights. Or does he shave his head and just go full Dwayne?
I think he's owning it.
Yeah, I think he can do whatever he wants to do, and I think it's obviously not bothering him.
Yeah,
he's still getting in all these movies, but he can pull off a shaved head. He did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He almost had. He was almost shaved.
Yes.
Almost had a shaved head when he was prototype. It was like just a little hair and
yeah. Just bring the back or grow it out, maybe comb over. It's kind of funny. It's like kids these days must feel. Remember how we all felt in the early 90s when there's like Ted Danson has a bald spot on the back of his head?
Right.
And they made fun of that on Cheers that time. And it was just like, because he came out, he wore like a little,
like a back toupee thing.
Yeah. Crazy. People are getting older when that starts to happen. Dylan Matthews, you want a hot Christmas take? Love Actually stinks.
Oh, thanks, Dylan. I'm not going to watch it now.
Yeah.
What up, Dale?
Yeah, it's fine. It is what it is.
So last week, anything else on Die Hard? I think it's one of the best action movies.
First three are phenomenal.
Yeah,
Great movie. I love all of them.
Well, did you see 4 or 5? 4 is okay. 5 is just.
Which is the one with his son?
No, I've only seen 1 through 3.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, those are great. If they stopped there, it would have been fantastic. 4 wasn't bad, but 5 was just I couldn't sit through it. It was so bad.
Where did they go in 4? Where was it?
It takes place all over America. Timothy Oliphant is like a terrorist who shut down a communications grid. So John McClane has to travel around with Justin Long, who's like his daughter's. No, he's a hacker who's interested in his daughter.
No, that was 4.
Yeah, that was 4. That's what I'm saying. And then 5, they go to Russia.
And it's his son, and they're at odds.
I did see 4. I didn't see 5.
Yeah.
5 was really
fun.
Justin Long, Fairfield High School graduate. What's up?
Oh, nice.
My old high school.
Yeah. Justin Long's great. Wait. He's like our age, isn't he? Or is he a year ahead?
He's a year or 2 younger than me.
Oh, younger. Interesting. I just saw him in Goosebumps on Disney Plus. He just looks like he's having so much fun doing everything now. Like you can tell he's having a great time. Yeah.
He's good.
It's funny. There's all these actors that I think have just disappeared and aren't doing anything. And then like I was just about to say that about Justin Long, and then you said he's on Goosebumps. So that's good.
Yeah.
For him.
Like big role in Goosebumps, which was not for kids. It's on Disney Plus, but that's not a kid's show.
Yeah. No. It's like The Frighteners. Where when I first saw it, I didn't want to see it because I thought it was going to be like a kiddie movie, but it wasn't.
Yeah. Scary thing though about Goosebumps, they're doing this a lot now. It's like, flashback to the 90s. Like all the parents are our age in all the flashback. They're like same age as us. So in the flashbacks in the 90s, they're in high school. It's like I'm just like, oh, this is feeling weird, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so we want to talk. Let's talk some road story stuff. Let me change the setup here. Get this going. No, not that. There we go. Turn this off. Okay, cool. So Matt, last week you gave us a taste of this. Let's talk about your ride-alongs with Brock Lesnar. First off, how does it get sort of decided, the buddy system backstage of what wrestlers ride with each other from town to town?
Good question. Earlier I was saying how when I first got called up to SmackDown, I was putting together a match. It was like, I don't know, a squash match between me and Shannon Moore, if I remember correctly. And Brock pulled me aside and like, you have to eat him up. This has got to be one way. I know you're trained this way, but this is an enhancement match for you to get over. So it's believable that you're a part of this Survivor Series team, and I'm picking you and things like that. Okay, cool. And he's like, listen, I know you came up from OVW. Danny Davis says a lot of good things about you. He goes, Danny's my guy. So anything you need, just come let me know. So from there, he was at like every random show. He'd say, hey, do you have a ride? And even if I did, I'd say, no, I don't. So I can ride with him. And so that's how it would work most of the time. Sometimes it's guys that like to work out together, like to ride together because they're guaranteed to get to the gym. Because sometimes you're stuck in a car with like 3 out of 4 of you, and there's 3 out of 4 of you that don't want to go lift. You're kind of like the only one going by yourself, and it's a lot harder to do because you're not the one driving the car. So anyways, it's pretty much I would say riding on cars on the road together, in a car together, is pretty much devised through who wants to do what, who's interested in this, who likes going to the mall all day and walking around, like that. There's groups that wrestlers that like that, but there's a good chunk of us that like going to the gym first thing when we land, and then then tanning, and then going to eat. So let me transition, if I can, into that.
Yeah.
So as you can imagine, Glenn, like riding with Brock with his short fuse, and again, back in this time, I had a short fuse myself. I'm not gonna pretend I didn't, but nothing like this dude's fuse. And I always got along with him, always thought great things, but I'll never forget this. So we're on the highway and we're driving, and he's just finding things to get angry about, like finding them, like inventing them. Like I'm falling asleep, which you're not supposed to do at the Cardinal Sin when you're riding along with somebody. All right. But it was him, Sable, and I told you, me and Nathan Jones sitting in the back. And it was right before we had to do this overseas flight. The flight that the tour that Nathan ends up quitting on when we land in Australia and stays there and doesn't come back to the company, that tour. But beforehand, we drove to the plane with Brock and Sable. So we're on the highway, and I'm dozing off because we had just had SmackDown that night, and the television taping for SmackDown, and I just hear him just the horn blaring. I kind of snap out of it. He can't see because I'm in the back seat. He can't tell I'm sleeping, which is, again, no. And I'm just a little shook at first, and then I just hear him blaring on his horn. It wakes me up out of nothing, and he's like swerving with the car. And I'm like, what is going on? He's like, this mother flicked me off and cut me off. And I'm like looking around and like, So now I'm not going back to sleep at this point, obviously. And this is my first time riding with him. Keep this in mind, please. Okay. And so I don't know, like 45 minutes later, again, he's blaring the horn at somebody, but he's the one nobody's cutting him off, is my point. Nobody, I didn't see anybody cutting him off. He's just yelling at people as he's cutting them off. and in my head, I'm like, I'm trying to, and I'm laughing, like, but at the same time, he's nice enough to give us a ride. He didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
But Nathan's just sitting there, stoic the whole time, just staring straight the entire time. So, like, I can't, like, elbow him and be like, dude, this is freaking hilarious. He's going off on people for no reason. And he's the one who's cutting them off. Nobody's cutting this guy off. Why does he keep saying that? And then oldie but a goodie story is when we would always, like I was telling you earlier, we'd go to the gym together. We'd always go work out, and then we'd always have to go to a place that we can eat clean at. And usually Denny's was a good spot for that. There's a Denny's in every town. It's pretty inexpensive. You can always get a grilled chicken breast there, egg whites, and you're good to go. All right. So we get there, and Brock, if you got Brock's order wrong, like, it's game over. It's not going to be a good day for the waiter or waitress. And so he comes over and he gets his egg white served to him, and then like I'm not joking, guys. Like no joke. Like the whole table shakes, and I'm not exaggerating. And then the guy's like, you can hear Brock, like making his noises, not even audible words, but his grunts, his noises, like of being pissed off, right? And the guy comes back, he's like, I'm sorry, sir, did I get something wrong? He's like, how hard is it to make 6 friggin' egg whites? That's all I asked for. 6 egg whites. Is it brain surgery to get it done? I don't understand where we went off track here. And got really, really mouthy with the guy. And the guy's just completely pissing his pants. Like
I'm sure.
He knows who this is. Brock's the champ at the time. So he knows who he is. And again, he comes back. And he's like, I'm so sorry. I thought you wanted like three up along with 3 egg whites. But I'm the one who had the 3 sunny side up eggs along with my egg whites. So he kind of gave my order to him. So anyways, Brock got pissed over that. But it's like the fact that he does this, that was hilarious.
Wait, does Brock do that thing like couples do where he's like, you need to order what I order, because if you order it different, if you're getting eggs and I'm getting eggs, we have to get the same eggs or they're going to screw up my order.
I mean, in retrospect, if you could have,
that would have made things easier.
Whatever, it totally would have. And again, I always have to, call myself out too, because I was one as well that the other guys just make fun of me if I didn't ride with him, and I would ride with Brock was very private, right? So like to ride with him, I thought was a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Especially now, all these years later, when I really see that he didn't really ride with anybody, except when he first got called up to the main roster to do dark matches and house shows. But to let me and Nathan ride with him for a little bit when we first started, a few times, is very, very cool. But I rode with other guys too, and they would see my stuff. Millions of them could tell you stories about my short fuse with, at restaurants and things like that. Because I'm not making excuses, but I'm telling you, when your entire world is based, especially back then, in aesthetic business, and you have your one. If you're me, you're living up your 6-year-old little boy childhood dream, and I don't want to mess it up. And so my look is why I'm there. I'm not there because I'm some technical wizard. I'm there because I'm 7 foot tall, 340 pounds, jackness. That's why I have a job, right? So I don't want to screw that up. So when orders get screwed up in food and things like that, and then if you're riding with me and you're costing me being able to eat every 3 hours at that time, yes, I'll be itchy and grumpy and just the worst to be in a car with, because I will be furious.
All along the I-40, servers still tell the story of Matt Morgan and his steamed hash browns.
Yes, other wrestlers could definitely do this. Paul London can do a good imitation. Getting my steamed hash browns.
Why not just a potato, Matt? Why do you want them to make it like hash browns and steam them, whereas steaming a potato or baking a potato, just as healthy, no oil?
Good point. It's not a bad point. It's not a bad point. We're talking like 25-year-old Matt Morgan.
But no, I get it. You like the breakfast experience.
Snorting Norcos and painkillers 20 minutes beforehand. Not that I'm blaming it on my drug addiction.
No, I get it, man. I get it. But yeah, so steamed hash browns. So the benefit is it's healthy because it's not cooked in oil.
Yes, and you still get that vibe that you're cheating when you're really not cheating.
I feel you.
I could see that.
I feel you. And who else? Did anyone else have a funny order that came to mind? We always hear about Ryback and a Panera Bread trying to get like 8 chicken breasts.
He missed out because Panera Bread Undercover does have some great clean eats there. Tons to choose from, actually.
Yeah.
I was surprised. But no. But I can understand the because if you're there because you're looked, that you don't want to screw that up. And you get it in your head. It's like reverse. Anorexia is a very serious thing, so I don't want to compare.
Yeah,
it
no,
to
no,
that,
I get
obviously,
it.
but it's like somehow reverse of that, where you're really in your head about your physique.
No, it's a form of an eating disorder. I mean,
it definitely is.
People get it when they diet, when they count calories. I mean, funny looking at me, you wouldn't think this, but I have a thing. If I start counting calories, I try and game it. And I'm like, can I get down below 1,000 calories in a day? Can I get down to 800? Like psychologically it happens. J.R. Smith, Matt Morgan angrily saying, let me back there. I'll steam the damn hash browns myself.
That's pretty much it. That's exactly what I said. Is that really J.R. Smith or is that one of the wrestlers? I wonder.
Yeah, if I'm writing the story, Brock Lesnar puts on the cowboy hat and goes back there and starts like doing short order cook work for everybody, you know, and saying like, pal, you look like you could use an egg white omelet. What do you want? Ham? Oh no, sir. Grits, no butter for you.
But Masters, Rene Dupree, all of us, like, when we're in Louisville, the same thing. Like we were eating clean at all times, and you could tell when we not get our meals, like we'd be very grumpy.
Yeah,
just grumpy and miserable. Like I can't believe I'm comparing it to it, but it was similar. Now I look back, what withdrawal felt like. Not as extreme as withdrawal, but that grumpiness and irritation that you have. You don't want to communicate with people. You don't want to be social. You don't want any of that. You need your damn food. And like 4 hours have gone by. 5 hours have gone by.
When you're eating that clean, can you put like Tabasco sauce on it, or does the sodium throw it off? Okay.
Tabasco, you can do Tabasco, natural diuretic.
Just not like ketchup.
No,
ketchup has sugar. No, you gotta. And now, I mean, I'm thinking about it. Then mustard's usually okay.
You can get away with it. Like I'd mix it with tuna every once in a while. But I just eat the tuna straight out of the can, honestly, with water.
No, back then, I mean, Matt, because again, you wouldn't know looking at me, but it's funny. We've talked before in Bonded because I was doing like Body for Life, and we both like Hydroxycut, creatine, like all the supplements. Then special diet food back then had nothing on where it is now.
Oh, it's amazing.
Where it's like keto everything, you know.
Yes. Yeah. They got great stuff today, man.
Yeah. Did they have the meal prep and delivery as much then? Because now you see everybody eating out of those black tubs, you know?
I wish. Oh God, I wish. But no.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it must have. I mean, and so it's really a testament. I mean, that you still look amazing, but that you were able to pull off that physique back 20 years ago when you were relying from. I mean, there was no Chipotle back then. Like you could do Subway, I guess.
Yes, but even that's super sodium chicken. But you'd make do. Wendy's, same thing. Grilled chicken breast. I go to 3 grilled chicken sandwiches, get rid of the buns, and just eat the sandwiches. And knowing that I'd have to do a little bit extra cardio for that because of the sodium in that processed chicken.
Wow.
So crazy. Well, thank you for sharing that with us, Matt. I always love hearing these stories.
Yeah. I'll give you guys more. There's so many more funny ones.
Okay. Yeah. I'll try to think of some good questions for next week.
Yeah, because like it will jog my memory too. You guys do a really good job of jogging my memory.
It's just crazy to think about, man. I mean, what a different. I mean, technology wise, right? I mean, Matt, when you were driving back then, you still had maps back then to get
right. Garmin was just being introduced. The Garmin, remember?
Yeah, I mean, I remember getting like the first Garmin unit when it came out, and it was like I have to hook up this to a computer, I have to download an update. Like, yeah.
I remember when I got I got an Acura in like 2000, and it had a GPS in it, and it just blew everyone's mind when they'd see it. They're like, "What? It knows where you're going. It knows where you're at."
That's some Jetson stuff, man. At that time, that was some serious Jetson stuff.
Oh yeah. I did a cross country drive once. I had a laptop that there was a USB connection for a GPS receiver, and so I had a laptop sitting there riding shotgun with me, plugged into the cigarette lighter, plugged in the stereo, and that's how I got directions for everything on a computer. And then what I would do is back when DVD commentaries were a thing, this was before podcast people, I would put on DVD, I put a DVD on the laptop, select the commentary, then close the screen so I could listen to that like a podcast while I drove. I mean, it was a very different time.
I used to have these speakers, and so I'd have a Walkman and then connect the speakers to it in my car. So that was like my that was my Bluetooth.
Oh wait, let's go back even further, guys. Remember when the big deal was the CD player with the skip protection? So that way, you know, when you were driving,
I had that.
Yeah, you don't hit the bump and then like the song. Or the worst was you had the friend that had the 6-disc changer in their trunk, so it was the same 6 CDs all the time that they listened to.
Yeah. Wow.
These kids these days, they don't understand how good they got it, you know?
Yeah. Computers don't have DVD ROMs anymore.
Oh my God.
It's a
so
different
crazy.
world.
It is. Well, I think that wraps it up for this week. Next week, what will we talk about? Who knows? Subscribe, stay tuned, follow us on Twitter. Matt's at BP Matt Morgan, Raj is at the Raj Giri. I'm at Glenn Rubenstein. And thanks
And again,
everybody.
And
Seriously.
please, again, give us a like if you like this video.
Subscribe.
And subscribe.
Yeah,
All that good
and we'll chop this up into clips. So just so people know, like we know some of you prefer to watch the whole show. Some people just want to watch clips. So we're gonna find a way to organize this a bit more going forward. We'll still have the full show live. Dude, we had like 150 people in here at our peak today, which is amazing. 170. Wow.
Yeah.
Even better.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Y'all are so awesome. So everybody have a great week. We will catch you back here next time on Gigantic Pop. Take care.
Subscribe.